We were 4 days deep into the pines, and by then the forest had stopped feeling like part of the world we knew. The air was thicker there, damp and cold even in the middle of August, and the sky always seemed to hide behind branches so high and tangled you'd think the trees were trying to keep us from looking up. The mission was straightforward on paper: joint patrol between our Marine unit and a small group of Army soldiers, moving through a stretch of wilderness near the border where there'd been reports of strange movement, possible infiltration, maybe even illegal logging operations. Nothing unusual, nothing we hadn't handled before. At least that's what Command told us. I carried my rifle across my chest, boots crunching over layers of pine needles, and listened to the low chatter between the guys. You could always tell Marines from soldiers in the field: different cadence, different way of moving. We'd been ribbing each other since we stepped off the trucks, but there was a mutual respect too. That kind of thing always builds fast when you know you might need to trust each other with your lives. The first sign something was wrong wasn't anything big. Just the absence of the normal sounds. No birds, no distant rustle of small animals in the undergrowth, no insects buzzing. I didn't notice it at first until Morales, one of the Army guys, lifted his hand and everyone froze. He was looking around like he was trying to find the horizon through the trees. "You hear that?" he asked. I listened hard and realized he meant the opposite, what we didn't hear. The forest had gone dead quiet. Even the wind seemed to be holding its breath. I shifted my grip on my rifle, a slow unease crawling up my spine. You learn early in the field that silence like that isn't natural. It's a signal. Something big is moving, or something that scares the rest of the forest enough to shut them up. We pushed forward anyway because that's what the mission said. Orders didn't leave room for superstitions. We were covering maybe another half-mile when I caught a glimpse of something between the trees. Just a flicker of movement, too fast to identify, but it was low to the ground and big. My first thought was a bear, maybe. We were in the right part of the country for that. But the shape wasn't right. Too elongated. I brought my rifle up, scanning the tree line, and the others did the same. "Contact," someone whispered over comms. "Negative," I said, though I wasn't sure. I just knew whatever I saw was gone now, swallowed up by the forest. That night we set up camp in a small clearing. The pines around us swayed slightly in the wind, but it was still too quiet. We built a small fire more for morale than warmth and took turns on watch. I had second watch, from 0200 to 0400, and by then the temperature had dropped enough that I could see my breath in the faint glow from the fire. I kept scanning the darkness, and every now and then I thought I saw shadows moving between the trees. The kind of thing you can't prove to yourself because the moment you focus, it's gone. My headset crackled softly with static, but no voices came through. Just before 0300, I caught it, a low, guttural sound from the woods. Not an animal growl. It was slower, deeper, almost deliberate, like something trying to form a word it didn't know how to say. I woke up the next shift and told them what I'd heard. They thought I was messing with them, but when morning came, everyone looked uneasy. During breakfast, Specialist Harris from the Army squad said he'd heard something too. Different direction, same kind of sound. No one laughed at him. We broke camp fast and kept moving. The deeper we went, the more the trees seemed to close in. The trunks grew thicker, the branches lower, and the light dimmed until it felt like we were walking in permanent dusk. Morales muttered something about the place being wrong, and I didn't argue. Around midday we found tracks in the mud, deep, wide, and spaced in a way that didn't match any animal I knew. They weren't boots either. Too irregular. The prints had claws, long ones, maybe 3 inches, and the stride suggested whatever made them was tall. Tall and heavy. We marked the location, took photos, and kept going, but the sense of being watched became impossible to ignore. Every time we stopped to rest, the silence would press in, like the forest was leaning closer. Then we started finding the remains. Not human, thank God, but deer, raccoons, smaller animals, all torn apart, pieces scattered in a way that didn't look like normal predation. Some of the wounds looked deliberate, like something had been experimenting. We radioed back to command, but the signal was getting worse, our voices breaking into static before we could finish sentences. By the third night, nobody was sleeping much. The noises had started coming closer, circling the camp. Low growls, wet breathing, and something that sounded like claws dragging over wood. On my watch, I saw eyeshine, 2 points of pale yellow about 6 feet off the ground, reflecting my flashlight for a fraction of a second before vanishing. I didn't tell the others what I'd seen because I didn't have words for it yet. At dawn, Private Kim didn't show up for roll call. His sleeping bag was empty, but there were no signs of struggle. Just a faint trail of those same clawed footprints leading into the trees. We followed them for nearly 2 hours before they simply stopped, like whatever we were tracking had lifted off the ground. That's when we heard the scream, high-pitched, human, but wrong, like the lungs making it weren't built for a human throat. It echoed through the pines, bouncing in all directions until we couldn't tell where it came from. We set perimeter, weapons ready, but nothing came. The rest of the day passed in tense silence, every nerve straining for a sound. That night, the creatures, or whatever they were, got bolder. We caught glimpses of shapes between the trees. One of the army guys swore he saw something crawl headfirst down a trunk, but when we shone lights on it, the space was empty. Then the smell hit, rot, wet fur, and something metallic, like old blood. We didn't talk much after that. Just moved. The plan was to make it to the extraction point 2 days early, but the forest didn't want us to. Paths we marked the day before seemed to vanish. GPS started showing impossible readings, our location bouncing miles in seconds. By the 5th day, we were down to 3 hours of sleep in 24, running on adrenaline and bad coffee. Then, as the sun started to set, the first real attack came. It started with a branch snapping somewhere to my right. Then another behind us. We formed a tight circle, rifles outward, scanning the dark between the trees. The sound of movement grew, fast, circling, getting closer each pass. My heart was hammering so loud I almost didn't hear the first shriek. It was like metal tearing and an animal's scream combined, and it came from above. I looked up just in time to see a shape drop from the branches, a mass of limbs and claws, eyes glowing faintly yellow. I fired, the muzzle flash lighting its face for a split second. That was when I realized it had a face. Not human, not animal, but something in between. And that was the moment we knew we weren't making it out the same way we came in. I don't remember pulling the trigger that many times, but the air was full of gunfire, brass raining down into the pine needles, muzzle flashes strobing the darkness in jagged bursts. The thing shrieked and rolled away faster than I thought something that size could move, vanishing into the undergrowth. The moment it disappeared, another came from the left, slamming into Harris and sending him sprawling. His rifle went skidding across the ground as the thing crouched over him, all elbows and knees bent wrong, its claws digging into the dirt inches from his face. Morales emptied half a mag into its back before it twisted away and bounded into the trees. The forest swallowed it like it had never been there. We regrouped fast, pulling Harris to his feet, but he was shaking, muttering something over and over. He said it wasn't touching him but it could have if it wanted. That messed with me more than the attack itself. They were playing with us. Testing us. We moved out, tighter formation now, scanning every angle, but I could feel them pacing us in the dark. I'd catch the flicker of movement between trunks, a flash of those yellow eyes, but no clean shot. It was like trying to fight smoke. By midnight, we couldn't go any farther. Exhaustion was clawing at all of us, and even the forest seemed to be holding its breath, waiting. We didn't light a fire, just sat in a circle with our rifles ready, backs almost touching. I was watching the trees when I noticed the silence had changed. It wasn't empty anymore, it was full, like something was there but holding still. Then I heard it, a low, drawn-out inhale, close enough that I could almost feel it pulling the air past my face. I swung my rifle toward the sound and caught the barest glimpse of teeth in the dark, white against the black. We opened fire as one, the night exploding with gunshots. Shapes moved just beyond the reach of our flashlights, fast enough to blur. I swear I saw one drop to all fours and scuttle sideways, its limbs moving like an insect's. Another leapt straight up into the branches and was gone. The air stank now, like wet dog left in the sun too long, mixed with something metallic and sharp that made the back of my throat burn. We pulled back, step by step, trying not to break formation, but the forest wasn't letting us go. Every time we turned, the trees seemed closer together, the ground steeper, roots catching at our boots. My radio sputtered with static, then a voice, faint, broken, saying my name. It wasn't anyone on our team. I knew every voice, and this one was wrong. Slow. Drawn out. Like something was trying the shape of my name for the first time. We pushed until the first light bled through the canopy. No attacks came during daylight, but the feeling of being watched never left. We found the river around noon, which should have been a good sign. It was on the map, a step toward the extraction zone, but something had been there first. The rocks were slick with a dark, sticky smear that could only have been blood. In the shallows, half a deer lay twisted, head missing, ribs picked clean on one side. The prints were there too, deeper now, like the creatures had been moving in numbers. We filled canteens fast and got moving again. By late afternoon, the terrain shifted, the pines giving way to a thicker tangle of undergrowth. It slowed us down, and that's when the noises started again. Not the guttural sounds from before, these were clicks, high and sharp, coming from every direction. They'd click once, wait, then another would answer somewhere else, like they were mapping us in sound. Morales muttered under his breath about sonar, but no one responded. We didn't want to think about it. When the sun dipped low, the clicks stopped. It should have been a relief, but that was when the forest gave us back Kim. We found him sitting on a fallen log in a small clearing, back to us, head bowed. Relief hit hard and fast. We thought he was gone for good. Harris ran to him first, calling his name. Kim didn't move until Harris was almost close enough to touch him. Then his head lifted, slow, and I saw the side of his face. His skin was pale, too pale, like paper, and his eyes, they weren't his anymore. The pupils were slit thin, and the yellow glow I'd seen in the trees flickered there. His mouth opened, and what came out wasn't his voice. It was that same drawn-out inhale, the same sound I'd heard in the dark. Harris froze. I shouted for him to get back, but Kim, or whatever was wearing him, moved too fast. One moment he was on the log, the next he was inches from Harris, mouth opening wide enough to show teeth that didn't belong in a human mouth. We fired, but by the time the rounds tore through the air, both of them were gone, dragged into the trees by something I couldn't see clearly. The undergrowth shook for a moment, then stilled. We stood there in the clearing, breathing hard, rifles trembling in our hands. No one said a word. There was nothing left to say. We were down 2 men now, and the extraction point felt farther away than ever. Morales finally spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. We keep moving. No matter what, we move. And that's exactly what we did, though every step felt like walking deeper into something we couldn't fight, something that was letting us think we still had a chance. Because deep down, we all knew, they weren't done with us yet.